Good night and good luck.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with my trusty co-host Liam McNeil for the final time this very, very special year, our return year. We spent so many years not doing this show, Liam, and now we've done an entire year again.
What a strange situation that we did go several times without doing it and then came back with such a plum, Jousters, I think you'll agree.
Yeah,
and skipped a beat.
For those watching at home on the video medium, you'll notice we're drinking sparkling white wine.
We've traded our brown bubbly for some white bubbly.
Delicious.
And it's in celebration of such a wonderful year from our Newcastle Rugby League nights for both fellas and Sheilas.
Yes, yeah, that's true, because it's not just one team anymore. When we finished, Liam, in 2020 for the first time, we only had one team to celebrate.
We weren't told that there was an entire other gender out there.
No
one informed us of that.
News to us.
Yeah.
But now, thank God that someone did tell us about it.
Well, what great news it was.
And created an entire team around it for our very own Newcastle Knights, about to hit another bloody grand final, mere days away.
First minor premiership in the club's history, and then a second grand final for them within 1 year.
Yeah.
Within 12 months.
It's, the Broncos v Knights, the last game that they played, they made it a bit of a contest. They wanted to keep us all excited and involved.
Well,
and
they followed the script. You know, rugby league's all about scripts and tales and stories and fairy tales. And the narrative of this was, you know, the culmination of the great late 90s and early 2000s clubs, the Knights and the Broncos. They were the powerhouses. Of course, you got Knights 97, Broncos 98. Who cares 99? No one remembers. Broncos 2000, Knights 2001.
Yes.
You know, and I think
it's really trading the wins, wasn't it? Yeah.
And we traded on the right one this time.
Yeah.
It was a good trade.
Well, it was a good trade that we said, no, we're not going to pass it off. We did win last year, but Broncos, too bad. We're in it again.
So we've ruined the trading streak.
Yes.
And what a handsome way to end the streak, too.
Punching the horse, as we do there. We just really gave the good horse a good old punch.
That means a different thing on the back streets of Islington going out.
Punching the horse.
Yeah, just got to go behind Woolies and punch the horse real quick.
Up late, Joust. That's what we're doing now. We've gone a full year of not being cancelled, but let's give it one more go.
Yeah.
Standouts for that game, Liam, we can't go past talking about their very own Caitlin Johnston. Johnston.
What a woman. Now, Caitlin Johnston has come out and proven the old adage that props can do what props shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Scoring a try.
Yeah.
This is not something that props are known for, never have been throughout history. But
got a
Caitlin
bunch
Johnston is revolutionising the position, if anything. It took Leo Thompson 153 games to score a try.
Yeah.
She scored a dozen in her last 3 games.
That's right. She can't be stopped.
Yeah.
It's the Windale blood pumping through her veins. That literally.
Geez, you want to get punched by the horse?
Yeah. Out of the window, that's all you can do. They've been punching horses out there for decades.
In all seriousness, though, when we did rarely have to play in Windale in school footy tournaments, you would actually have to do a needle check on the field pre-game.
Yes, it's true.
This is no exaggeration, Jousters. The younger of you will know Windale's a booming suburb where the only people who can afford any housing.
Yeah.
But in the past, it was a rough spot. It was a rough spot.
It was the wild, wild west of Lake Macquarie.
Just north of Gateshead.
Yeah, that's right. The gate that led to terrible fear.
But big hats on to Caitlin Johnston, and I think
hats off, I would say.
Sorry, big hats off.
Yeah.
We're going to get that right one day. Maybe
day.
Jousters hang around for another 10 seasons. We might get that right.
We might get it right. But we can't go past the greatest fullback
in the world
to
ever play rugby league.
I think so.
Just wait for Ron Griffiths to put her at 5'8".
Oh, yeah, they will, of course.
Do the actual Lockyer. Unlike the reverse Lockyer, Ron's just going to do the actual Lockyer.
And that's very own Tamika Upton coming on there with a hats off. It has to be the most hats off we've ever given. Our hat has barely touched our head when we're talking about Tamika Upton. Once again, such a powerful performance, over 200 running meters. She can't be stopped. 2 try assists as well, 3 line breaks. She does it so easily.
And she does everything. And again, she's such a joy to watch. You know, she's not built like a football player. She's a skinny thing, but beats people up when she runs into them when they try and tackle her. She just says,
Bumps them
no,
off.
sir.
No.
Get out of here.
No
time for you. She steps, she could step the Pasha Bulker.
Yes.
If that thing was pulling into the harbour and she was in front of it, it's a wide ship.
Yeah,
She'd
it is.
still step around it.
1-2.
Yeah.
That's the Pasha Bulker went
Buckle
one
my
way.
shoe.
Pasha Bulker went one way. That I've been beached. That's what they say. They damn it. Damn it, Tamika, you've got us again.
Now, that's such a touchstone in Newcastle history. Like, all us adults will be sitting around at the pub having a beer and it's just, where were you when the Pasha Bulker ran aground? Naggy, where were you when the Pasha Bulker ran aground?
School.
Well, so were we, actually. I remember it was...
I grew up in Port Stephens, Liam, so we had to hear about this on the wireless. It was.
See, we all left school and went to see it because I was at Frenny's and it was only year 11 and 12, so half of us had a license and a car.
The storm.
And
It was
a storm.
Not just one storm. It was a storm that apparently lasted for about 6 days.
Yeah, and someone got word that, oh my God, an oil tanker has washed up on Nobby's Beach. And so we all just left and went to see the oil tanker and they had to call our parents. They're like, we're cancelling school today because everyone left. There's just no one here.
There's no one here.
Yeah, so they cancelled school for the day and we all went to see the Pasha Bulker.
And that's more Newcastle than you can ever ask for. It's the fact that, there's a ship outside that's run aground, class dismissed. And that's what, and I love that about it. And
isn't it a kind of an apt metaphor? A fossil fuel carrying ship has tarnished one of Newcastle's finest beaches.
Yes. Oh, I think
Climate change.
We've definitely gone more, apparently, viciously left wing this whole season, which I love. I think we've got a shot of the Pasha Bulker running aground in that famous photo. Now,
what a day that was!
If you
go half day of school, and then I spent the whole weekend on the internet because everyone else's power went out because they got flooded.
If you go this photo just gets thrown around worldwide to any sort of bot account and things like that of being like, oh, can you believe this is one shot? And it's like, sure, I can. It looks about all right. That's just a big boat on a beach.
Now, and the angle it was. I was going to say the angle
parked.
was parked,
it was
at,
parked,
but they didn't really park it there.
No, they should have reversed it.
When there was a decent swell and some good wind, it had hit the boat in such a way to form a perfect left-handed point break.
Like a reef.
So I knew a couple of guys who actually went out and surfed while it was there. They'd sit out the back end. They'd catch these beautiful waves all the way in. It's a great time. What a great piece of Newcastle history, the Pasha Bulker. Much like Tamika Upton.
Yes, I think...
A true... cataclysm of Newcastle history.
Equally as important those two events.
Yeah.
Tamika Upton coming to our fair shores and the Pasha Bulker running
also coming to our fair shores.
Both with a storm of energy behind them. It was something very, very incredible that we'll remember forever, I hope. Because remember, we had the Millie Boyle thing last year.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. We said, Millie Boyle.
Mrs. Elliott.
We said,
Is that
she's
Mrs. Elliott you're talking
Mrs.
about?
Elliott, of course,
yeah.
Mrs. Elliott. They said... They said, "Oh, she's like the chief. She's like the person that's gonna, bring us the trophy, and they'll erect a statue, of course, and et cetera, et cetera." Then she buggers off.
Yeah,
a moment's notice. She just
not even a moment. She didn't tell us.
She
just turned up at Roosters training, and we said, "What?
What? She's there now?" Yeah. As quick as they got the Pasha Bulker off, actually, that took a long time.
That took a long time, Naggy.
Remember how they said going back to the Pasha Bulker? This is an entirely Pasha Bulker related show. That they said. The Pasha Bulker, we may not be able to move it. It might just be there forever. They're like, just like the Signet. Is that the
Sigma? Yeah, the Signa in Stockton.
Signa.
Yeah.
And they were like,
also a great surf spot.
But that was there in the 50s or something, wasn't it? The 70s. It just decayed slowly.
Features in
in
Bootman.
Bootman.
That great Newcastle. Well, it was like also when the boulder fell on the skate park at South Newcastle Beach. I think it took about a decade to get rid of that.
You can't.
It was just a boulder. They're fairly easy to move.
Well, they're fairly heavy. As well.
I'm sure the council owns at least a few cranes.
Potentially one.
I hope so.
They could rent one. Lease
or do they outsource their boulder removal? That's how the world works now. It's all outsourcing. Taking the hard-working manufacturing jobs out of Australia, offshoring it. And that's why we can get rid of a boulder for 10 years.
But luckily, we offshored it to the point that they could remove the Pasha Bulker. Very good. Hope you're still with us. Anyway, anyone at all still listening? But it is very exciting to see the lady knights to say that it wasn't just a one-off, guys. The competition's bigger. That we're still going to beat it. We're there again in the grand final. They said we couldn't do it, and we're doing it. And at 3:55 this Sunday, we will be doing it once again against the Gold Coast Titans. Everyone goes, the Gold Coast Titans? I say, yes.
Well, that's it.
The
They're the first Gold Coast team, I believe, in rugby league. And there's been 5 of them, Jousters. Count them 5. Gold Coast Giants, Gold Coast Seagulls, Gold Coast Chargers, Gold Coast Titans. And they were the Gold Coast
Chargers?
Did I say Chargers? Crushers. No, South Queensland. They were based in Brisbane. There was a 5th iteration of the Gold Coast. So
Dolphins at one stage. There was talks. Remember the footy show said there was going to be the Dolphins.
Oh, they said a lot of things.
But they released. They even said this is going to be the jersey. They went a bit. But
early. This NRLW Titans team are the first Gold Coast team to make a first grade grand final.
Well, good on them. But they'll also be the first Titans team to lose a grand final as well as the very own Newcastle Knights will steamroll over them.
Romp it in, sure. They're surely romp it in. Because look at the team list. Now, this is a team that has largely stayed relatively, the same throughout the season. There hasn't been any big upheaval. We were concerned last week. Now, you remember we were concerned.
A little bit concerned
about Jessie Southwell.
Yes.
She's been named. Great news. She's been named. It seems to be training very well.
Yes.
So our concern, and I think it was because we acted concerned. Remember Jackson Hastings? Like, he'll be fine. He's okay. He's great. And then he wasn't.
It wasn't fine.
So I think it was, I think we can be thanked for our concern.
Concern. Yeah, we should have been. Because we spoke.
Just like after a mass shooting in the States, we're sending concerns and prayers.
Prayers. We speak very quietly. So we're a little bit worried about that. But then, it turns out that everything's fine. But the team, if we go back slightly to the team there on the screen, there's the likes of Tamika Upton as really has been our very own sort of torch in the distance on a dark night, our very own siren, if you will, guiding us into. And they actually
like the beacons of Gondor.
Yeah, beacons of Gondor was better because I said sirens again, and that's what beach ships again, and we go back to the Pasha It's very. Otherwise, we go back to the Pasha once again.
Sirens and they drive their ship onto Nobby's Beach.
So Tamika Upton is not a siren. A lot of people think sirens are mermaids, but they're birds.
No, very different.
They're birds. Yeah.
Oh, they're birds.
They're birds.
Oh.
Yeah, they're bird.
I thought they were like a mermaid offshoot.
No, birds.
Cool. There you go.
The likes of Caitlin Johnson, the likes of Yasmin
We're now
Clydesdale.
an ornithology podcast.
It just seems like the team is rolling through on this ascendancy. We can do it again. We've put ourselves in the position to do it again, but there'll be someone else holding that trophy.
Someone more deserving of holding that trophy.
Caitlin Johnson.
Our very own.
I think so.
Our very own.
Yeah, or one of the Southwells. They've done very well.
Either or. You could do the classic, have one of them hold each side of the trophy. I think that would work nicely.
And then raise it up sort of in the middle and go...
Yeah, in the middle like that. Right, the Johns brothers in 1997. Is this the era of a new sibling dominance?
I hope so.
That we haven't seen since the Johns brothers.
Quite potentially. Or maybe the Burgess brothers.
Yeah.
All the brothers. Is this the first sister act? Like that film?
Or is it the second sister act?
Like that film, Sister Act 2.
With Whoopton Goldberg.
Yeah. She was only really in those films. Was she in anything else? Oh, no, she was in Ghost. She was in Ghost.
She was in Ghost. She won an Oscar in Ghost?
Yeah. The Color Purple. She was. Yeah.
What a stellar career she's had.
She was in a few films.
Good for her.
But mainly... But the Sister Act was really what she was headlining.
Well, I thought she was more well known for dating Ted Danson.
Did she really?
Remember, because Ted Danson went to an awards ceremony in blackface, and he thought he could get away with it because he was dating a woman of color.
Well,
you guys don't remember this?
It
wasn't the color. But if it was purple, he would have been okay. But yeah, if you Google search Jousters Ted Danson blackface, you will see a very humorous but in poor taste image.
Yeah.
He didn't get away with it.
At the start of the show, Liam, I didn't think we would be cancelling Ted Danson.
Well, here we are.
We found ourselves there. Sister Act, very, very good and quick on the buttons. It's better get Ted Danson up in blackface now, otherwise we got
to bring it up just so people know.
I'm worried this is one of your like haunted dreams that you have you've suffered.
He wore blackface. Right there.
Oh,
30 minutes. There we have it.
There it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ted Danson in blackface.
It's coming up.
It really happened.
It's coming up.
You all thought I was crazy for bringing that up, but no.
Well, I thought you were crazy regardless. Yeah. But at the same time, here he is.
I can be crazy for two different things.
That's true. Ted Danson in blackface. I guess that's why we never saw like the offshoot of Cheers. Like that's why Frasier got it, because Ted Danson did that.
You know, a lot of people forget that Ted Danson was in Saving Private Ryan.
No, I didn't forget that.
No, I didn't say you. I said a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're not a lot of. Not a lot of people, Naggy. You're one person.
He had the Tommy gun.
He did.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Where were we?
Now Saving Private Ryan was robbed. I would have dragged this episode out forever, so we never have to finish jousting. Saving Private Ryan was denied an Oscar because of Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
That Gwyneth Paltrow and that guy from Maroon 5 masterpiece, apparently.
Was it the guy from Maroon 5?
No, it didn't. He just looks like him.
He looks like the guy.
His name. Yeah.
No, he's Ray Fiennes' brother. Yeah. The other
Joseph Fiennes. Yeah, Joseph. Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, the less said about that film, the better. The more said about Saving Private Ryan, the better.
Wonderful film. With Ted Danson. Famously with Ted Danson and Paul Giamatti.
And Vin Diesel.
Matt
Damon. Yeah. Thomas Hanks.
I'm surprised before Vin Diesel died, he didn't say this is all about family. Which seems
Vin Diesel's not dead.
No, because he died.
Paul Walker.
No.
In the film.
The films. We're talking films. Liam, it's time for your try of the week, pie of the week.
Now, Jousters, I decided I was going to really treat myself this week. Last try of the week, pie of the week, I went down to Wanji Bakehouse, beautiful little bakery down there, right off the shores of the point there at Wanji.
Now, Liam, that date says that it was the 30th of the 10th, 2017.
I travelled through time to get that picture. I finally did it. I perfected time travel.
Yeah.
It only took me a decade and a half. But I went down to beautiful Wanji, home of course, William Dobell, one of Australia's finest artists, and I said, I'm going to get two pastries this week. Two pastries, ladies and gentlemen. So I said to myself, what do I like in life? I like meat pies. What else do I like in life? I like sausage rolls. And so I got one of each. You'll see they're two fantastic specimens. Yeah. I wanted to branch out a bit this week. I got a pepper steak pie. Ooh. It had plenty of pepper in it. It was nice and spicy, very peppery. Big, good chunks of beef. Nice, rich brown gravy.
The sausage roll looks a bit pale. Was it okay?
Oh, I'll come to that in a moment. But the pie crust also perfect. Very light, top and bottom.
Yes.
Flaky without being intrusive. I didn't get any, flaky bits stuck in my throat like sometimes you can with a good flaky pie. Didn't breathe any of them in. They just adhered perfectly to the top of the crust. Because if you breathe
them in, they sort of go down with the airway and then they stick to the back of your throat.
Like the bits in the popcorn.
All the husks that seem to just be perfectly designed to stick to the back of your throat.
Yeah.
For about 4 years.
Whoever it was that invented popcorn really was on a wild ride. Like, it's the most delicious snack, but you're going to remember it for 4 years.
4 years.
But anyway, the pastry to the right there, you notice, Naggy. I went for just a classic sausage roll. I wanted cheese and bacon. They didn't have it.
No.
But I went for the classic. It was brilliant.
Pale.
It was a much lighter pastry than I usually see in a sausage roll.
And a lot of coloured meat as well.
A lot of coloured meat, coloured meat rather, yeah.
But it was okay?
But it was fantastic. It was very, very good. The meat was beautifully seasoned, well flavoured.
That's good.
Again, it was the light pastry that really made it. And it reminded me of the great try from the Knights game over the weekend, the NRLW Knights and their fantastic win, because it featured more than one fantastic piece of culinary excellence.
Yes.
It featured Southwell to Johnston to Upton back to Southwell. It wasn't just one meat pie being enjoyed straight down the line.
No.
It was multiple pastries being involved in, different ways, each bringing their own greatness to my day.
A culinary culmination.
The culmination of culinary.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
I couldn't get it out. Sauce report, Liam. Would you pay for 2 sauces there?
40 cents per.
That's okay in this market.
Again, in this cost of living crisis, in this economy,
as we know,
I don't mind it.
The price of petrol goes up, the price of sauce goes up.
Yep.
That's just what happens.
Yep.
We don't
Cigarettes
know
goes up twice a year, booze goes up twice a year,
sauce goes up maybe 3 or 6 times a year.
But again, the people at Master Foods clearly are masters at their craft.
Yeah,
they know how to turn a bunch of just rotten tomatoes into a really good condiment.
Delicious.
So, again, glad to pay it. And Wanji Bakehouse, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's just the sugar
Tomato
content.
and sugar.
Tomato and sugar.
Yeah.
And where can we catch the women's game, the 3:55 game? Of course, it's the opener to the... Sorry? 3:55.
5 to Dom.
That's all right. I'll reiterate with 3:55 to 3:55 against the Titans. Their first grand final. The Titans, obviously, our second grand final. The Knights. But of course, we're coming in red hot favourites, as we should be. But where we're going to watch it around Newcastle Knights supporters, Liam.
The Hamilton Station Hotel, the most convenient street on earth with the best pub in town.
We've said it before, Liam. We're not fans of Sydney.
No,
there's about
you couldn't pay me to go there.
12 million
unless you
people.
gave me money.
12 million.
In which case I would go there.
12 million people there that all try to get
There's
to
so many one-way streets in Sydney.
No,
I don't know how you people deal with it.
Yeah, you can't turn right.
Oh my God. I remember when Elliot, former Buttons man, Bridget Turvey and Elliot's sister, Googie.
Of course,
we went to see Ready Steady Cook. We were on an episode of Ready
yeah.
Steady Cook. And we went down there. Google Maps didn't know about the one-way streets. It took us about an hour to get from Potts Point to some other shit part of Sydney.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't miss the start of the show. That was one of the great days of my life, being on
What
Ready
was
Steady
the host
Cook.
that you was
Peter
on?
Everett.
Peter Everett, yeah.
One of my best friends.
He
One of my great. Him and Carson from Queer Eye, two of my best friends on earth.
Well, okay. The Hamilton Station Hotel, of course, get down there to watch it.
You might see Carson Kressley from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Sunday, of course, they have their Sunday special. It is $5 tap beers.
What?
Yeah.
$5 Australian.
5 of them.
Wow.
Do you know how many sauces that you could buy for $5?
13.
About 13 if they're
About
40
13.
cents. But if the petrol price goes up, they go up, and maybe you can only buy 9. But you can buy one delicious schooner of beer for $5. It's more than you can if you take it in $5 into a candy store.
You've nothing.
You'll
nothing. Walk out empty pocketed.
With a minty and a hope and a dream. But that's all you have. But you have a delicious cold schooner amongst your Newcastle Knights peers, watching them.
Your friends, your family, your loved ones, your best friends that you didn't know you had until you walked in there.
They're all there. But you could also get food, Liam. And what's your favourite food at the Hamilton Station Hotel?
Poutine.
The poutine.
And if you're there, say good day to the Pong Dog crew.
Yeah.
I'll be in the middle of the bush, unfortunately, so I can't be at the pub.
Oh, I thought you meant the bush out the back, like you'll be hiding. No, you'll be camping. You'll be camping. Where are you camping?
Washpool Campground.
Yes.
It's about just past Scones, about half an hour past Scones.
Oh, that's
very excited. It's a national park there.
Buttons Man
out
Pom's
near
territory,
Button-Man Pom's home.
Yeah.
His home out there. So,
have you been out there before, Pom? Many times.
Excellent.
Okay, well, it's great.
I'm going to get camping drunk. It's best.
Yeah.
You can drink all day and you're not hungover the next day for some weird reason. It's all the clean air from the forest.
And also, everyone's equally as pissed as you the night before, so you wake up and everyone's equally as sober.
I told my wife the booze budget the other day, and she's, we're only going for 2 days. I was like, yeah, we are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we are. Tents and booze.
Yeah.
We're going to take a half-time break. We'll be right back for the second half of the Joust. Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Thank you very much for sticking with us, not only for this episode, but this entire year. But Liam, we can't go any further without talking about the rugby league news. More broadly, it's time for the news. Yeah, it's definitely time for the news. There's plenty happening in the NRL more broadly, and first and foremost, the the Rampant Broncos hammer Warriors to set up the NRL Grand Final against the Panthers. Very well established news that you may or may not have seen.
You heard it here first, Jousters.
Yeah.
The Broncos will be playing the Panthers in the NRL Grand Final.
And if we look there, we got the smug Panther that's already
smug and sexy.
Yeah. Gold chain.
Smoldering, yes, Josh, correct.
The leather jacket.
Against a slightly retarded horse.
Yeah, from... Well, it does look like it, doesn't it? The leather jacket from Sergio Giorgini, I think one of the top flight brands.
Now, here's one for the Trailer Park Boys fans out there. As you guys would know, Trailer Park Boys is a wonderful show, and if you don't know that, you can go to hell. You all know, of
Canadian,
course,
of course. Yeah,
great Canadian show. Big, sexy Julian, huge man. He's an enormous fella. He's very broad, very well built. Everyone in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I was living, has a story about the Trailer Park Boys. My great Trailer Park Boys story is that I got to wear Julian's leather jacket.
Did he really?
Yeah. Because when he's short of money, what he does is he just signs a bunch of stuff and sells it.
That actor, the guy that... So he's short of money often?
He's not actually, no. He wasn't short of money. He just wanted more, I think.
More money, yeah.
Anyway, lovely fella, and I got to try on his jacket, and it was great. I also met Corey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he good also?
Oh, he was a legend. Very smart man. He plays a dumb boy in the show, but he's very, very clever.
All these Canadians are just, too lovely for their own good.
They're
But
sweet,
back to
sweet
the Broncos and the Panthers, Liam. We have the well installed best team of the NRL.
I think it's safe to say maybe, honestly, the greatest team of all time.
There was a talks of,
Let's be quite honest here.
Yeah.
3 grand finals they've made in a row. 2 premierships they've won in a row. They're looking like they're probably going to win a third in a row. I can't name a more consistent and better team not in our lifetime, and arguably not in anyone's lifetime.
Yeah, there's teams that have come close. Like, obviously, the Storm was sort of there, and then they weren't, and then they were there, and they were cheating.
Yeah, but
and
they did
whatnot.
it legally.
Yeah, they legally. Then they came back, and they won 2012 and 2017 and 2020.
But they were never as dominant as this, Panthers rugby league club are.
Potentially not. And then, you got Panthers now. The Roosters are 2 in a row, which is quite exciting because it was the first time that they won, that any team won 2 in a row since the
92-93 Broncos.
Was that? Oh, they did that.
Because I think they beat St. George both years.
Oh, right.
And Nathan Brown was playing on both losing sides. I think.
That instilled some losing in him, ready for his coaching career.
That's when he first started tearing all that hair out.
The poor guy. And now he's bald as a badger. I'm sorry, I've tipped over the small bottles of sparkling wine.
Yeah, you'll notice we've switched from the white and bubbly to the brown and bubbly again, Jousters. We're getting dirty. We're getting dirty.
Fast and dirty. I've also seen on Fox Sports that they're referring to the Panthers. They're like, they walk with swagger. Are they arrogant? And I was like, well, haven't we heard this before?
Now, the funny thing about that as well is former NRL 360 host Paul Kent, of course, now locked in the box of personal demons.
Yes.
He used to refer to the Penrith players as having arrogance. Now, he seemed to direct his comments at a particular group of players from a particular racial group, and I wonder if maybe their arrogance was just Paul Kent's racism.
Potentially.
I think it might have been.
It's a live shot there from Paul Kent.
Live shot there from Silverwater.
Yeah.
Paul Kent joining us.
Oh, he's in jail now. Yeah.
So I think the media pushing the Penrith being arrogant thing is just a bit of a racist dog whistle.
Well, if we do remember also one of our, I would say good friends of the show, someone that really enjoys the show, Phil Rothfield, often calls up.
He's a great contributor.
He referred to the Blues.
He's one of our writers, actually.
He referred to the Blues as being suffering from the boombox culture, which is another dog whistle to just anyone that is not what he would describe as
a good white country boy.
A good white country boy. So it's going to be interesting to see
solving the problems of the world.
Yeah, whether
racism.
We're
fixing it.
We're trying to fix it because the current Fox Sports media is not fixing it. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the Panthers can do it again because. Even though this stretch has happened, it has sort of happened before. If you look at the early to late 2000s, right? So at the very early, starting at the year 2000, if you will, which was I think the earliest point in the 2000s. You had the Roosters up against the Broncos. The Broncos won.
Time is linear, Naggy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a complete circle.
Time's a flat circle.
Flat circle, complete circle. And then of course...
all circles are complete, or it wouldn't be a circle. It'd just be a round line.
A round line that connects. And then you've got the Knights Parramatta in 01. Yeah. Right? And then 02, Roosters are back again against the Warriors. They beat them. 03, Roosters are back again. They lose to the Panthers. That arrogant side, apparently. And then it was pre-arrogance, really. It was
the NRL was much whiter back then.
Yeah. Phil Rothfield was fine with Penrith back then. And then 04, hey, who do we see once again? The Roosters again against the Bulldogs. They lost. So there was an opportunity for the Roosters to have that dominance. 4 grand finals, 5 years, but they only managed to win one of them.
But I think as well, the thing that really intrigues me about this upcoming grand final, Nag, I think it's, NRL fans are always crying about local juniors, local juniors, everything is local juniors. Yeah. But what we're seeing from the Penrith Panthers and the Brisbane Broncos is actually a battle of 2 fantastic local junior development programs. I was looking on the game the other night where the Broncos beat the Warriors. Something like 13 of their 17 players have been in the Broncos system since they were 15 years old. I think the only ones that weren't were Kurt Capewell, Adam Reynolds, Billy Walters, albeit he's an honorary Broncos junior because of his father, the Kevolution. And that may have been it. The rest all came from the Broncos juniors nursery. Yeah. However, most of them went to school in the Gold Coast.
What about Tyson Smoothie?
Smoothie's the other one. Smoothie, he's a Melbourne man.
Oh, right.
Well, he's been at Melbourne the last few years. I don't know if he was a Broncos junior.
A lot of them came from that.
But then you look at Penrith as well, and it's almost, I want to say it's the same situation, but it's even more pervasive,
all of them. All the bits. Dylan Edwards.
Yeah.
Brian Tyler. Yeah.
Stephen Crichton.
Crichton.
The other centre. Yeah.
That one.
Isaac Tungo. Yep. The other winger. Sania Taruva. Yep.
You're just asking me to name the entire side. Here we go. We got the side up here.
Scott Sorensen. He came over from the Sharks. So I think he's one of the only ones. Liam Martin. He was rocketed into prominence.
Mitch Kenny's
from the Panthers junior.
Yes, he can.
Yes. But then, of course, we have the wonderful addition of the principal of the Jack Cogger School for Unremarkable Boys, Jack Cogger, of course. But yeah, it's really quite something to see a grand final made up of 2 teams who are almost wholly developed from within their own junior pathways. And it's sad to see that, they're 2 great rugby league nurseries.
Yeah.
West of the mountains.
Yeah.
bloody Brisbane.
City
and
boys.
Newcastle could have that.
Yes.
Newcastle is a catchment on par with either of those two places.
Yep.
And yet, because of the sins of the past administrators,
Which is just ignoring everything west of about Cessnock, really.
well, for me, it was always, if you don't play for the Maggots, bugger off.
Oh, well, that's
you may
that's
as well
true,
not play
yeah.
rugby league.
Well, they do own the club.
Maggots.
Yeah,
They own the club now.
Yeah, the West Newcastle.
So, yeah, it's really interesting to see two teams that are built almost entirely on local juniors. You love to see it. It's fantastic. I quite like it.
Is this, Liam, the unstoppable force of the Brisbane Broncos against the immovable object of the Penrith Panthers?
Yes.
I think
would
so.
flip those two, but yes, that was a Newtonian principle, I think. The unstoppable force will remain in a force in Newton's laws, Jousters. I believe the wording is an object in motion will remain in motion until acted upon by an opposing force.
Yes.
And I think both those teams are both the action and the immovable force.
Yes,
I think we're in for an absolute friggin' damn barn burner of a grand final.
If you're going to have to pick a score, Liam, would you pick a score now? Are you ready to pick a score? It's only Tuesday when we record this. It's still.
Am I going to pick a score? That's a great question. That's a very good question. I'm going to say no.
No,
because the way both teams play, it could really go either way. Penrith are that more grind you down. They play, in an 80-minute game, they somehow manage to play like 84 minutes of the best football you'll ever see. They grind you down.
Yeah.
They smother you. They hold the pillow over your face
and they say,
until your feet stop twitching. They shush you.
Yeah.
But the Broncos are the opposite.
I think I could breathe through a pillow. I reckon I could get a bit of air. It doesn't seem like it would create a complete seal.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
The pillows are denser than you'd think, unless you've got like a down pillow with feathers in it.
Well, the feathers,
the feathers you could go through. I
Potentially.
believe duck feather pillows are pretty highly regarded.
Yeah.
But then in the Broncos, you've got a quite different team where they're like, I'm 150 meters away from the try line.
Yeah.
I'm going to score.
I'm going to score a try.
Because I'm very fast.
Yes.
And everything we do is at a breakneck pace. They're two very vastly different schools of rugby league thought.
The Herbie Farnworth, the Reece Walsh, and the
Katoni Staggs of it all, the Selwyn Cobbo.
A lot of people forget about Selwyn Cobbo. He's right there, and he's also a freak of nature.
Yeah, and even in the halves there, you've got Ezra Mam, lightning player. And then the forward pack really sets the pace for them. You've got Carrigan, Flegg, Lahaas. They move very quickly, very good leg speed, very quick play the ball. Brisbane are the kind of team where, and we saw it in the Warriors game, they'll spend 15 minutes where they just go mental.
Absolutely
they go
bananas.
mental.
Yeah.
Herbie goes bananas out there in the centres.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that. But
you
please,
softball
Herbie,
that one to me.
Please, Herbie, score a hat trick so the Daily Telegraph can say Herbie has gone bananas.
Has in fact gone bananas. But yeah, no, they're two very different ideologically opposed rugby league teams. So I'm really excited to see just what on earth is going to happen.
I think that if you played 100 games of these two teams, I think the Penrith Panthers will win about 75 of them.
Fair.
But then the other 25, you'll see the Broncos wipe the floor with them.
Well, that's it. I think in the 25 that the Broncos win, they'll play better footy.
Yeah.
But the 75 games that Penrith win, they will play far more consistent, relentless, smothering footy.
Yes.
They both win in very different ways.
And
Penrith have had the best defense. So to shut down, the Brisbane attack, there's no better team to do it. And it's exciting.
Now, will
we
be seeing Ashley Klein in the referees?
Speaking of great things to happen in this, in terms of history, you have the invention of speech or the written word.
Yes.
You have sliced bread. Everyone loves sliced bread. You have the invention of the internal combustion engine that revolutionized the world.
Same year.
Same year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have Ashley Klein being dropped when he usually would have been given the grand final because of the cabal that run the referees, the Sutton brothers and the Kleins of the world, the cabal.
Yeah.
And so to see Ashley Klein not being given the whistle in a major game, I really like. And it's been given it to
a great Atkins.
Great Atkins. And look at that smug face there.
Well,
Because he's had a couple of howlers over the last couple of weeks. There was, of course, those two very, very obvious errors in the previous week's Melbourne game with the Harry Grant knock-on and the other bad one. We have this.
I thought he was... So he was in the bunker for this?
He was in the bunker because he was dropped.
Yeah. He was on the field.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So he's on the field and he missed this forward pass that we got footage that it went about 16 kilometers forward. Yeah. Some say the ball is still moving forward at the same rate as the Earth's rotation. Yeah. It's in orbit now. We can't stop it. But Ashley Klein still says it's gone backwards.
Yeah. It's going to hit the International Space Station and kill all the poor astronauts on there.
Fly through them.
See what you're responsible for, Reece Walsh. Some of this world's bravest people have gone out into space under the impression they'll be fine. Next thing you know, steed into the eye.
You thought, I want to be a cosmonaut. What do you know? I've been cut in half by a steeden. And Ashley Klein still...
What a way to go, though. If I'm ever to die, God forbid it happens, but if I'm ever to die, I want it to be in a Steeden-related incident.
Yeah, on the International Space Station. It has sparked a bit of a conversation, Liam, about the forward pass and the blatant forward pass. They call this the blatant forward pass when we're so sure that it's gone forward. Yeah. Should the video referee be able to step in and say, hang on a second, I'm here adjudicating the game for all the world to see. There needs to be a bit of integrity here.
Well, Naggy, let me suggest this to you.
Please.
We have had the technology to rule on forward passes for decades. And it comes from swimming. Yes. Now, you'll remember when swimming was like a national pastime in Australia? Like, swimming was prime time. I remember the Pan-Pacific Games were prime time, must-see viewing. And, of course, when you're watching swimming...
The commentator from NRL, what's his name?
Rabs, yeah.
Rabs, yeah.
Rabs was great.
Yeah. Rabs commentator, yeah.
And they'd have the line. So they'd have the line, this is the world record. Oh, they're swimming very close to us. It's the perfect line. We can judge on that. That technology has existed since the late 90s. Just implement that. It has the ability to directly draw across the field. I don't know. I watched too much swimming in the 90s.
No, it's fine. No, look, I love swimming.
I lost my train of thought there, Jousters. But anyway, the other suggestion, microchips. I love it. The more bizarre technology.
Well, they say put the microchip in the ball. I say put the microchip in the player. You know? I say if you want to step up to playing NRL football, come here and we're going to stamp something in the back of your neck. And if you decide to go to rugby union, we press a button, your head blows up.
Well, hey, look now, I'm no conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
But I think they put the microchip in with the COVID-19 jab.
Oh! There we go.
There we go. That got rid of all those liberals in the audience.
All right, who's our next victim? Right. There we go. We got a microchip going into the skull of the players.
That looks like a block of Cadbury Top Deck.
Yeah, it does. Little Cadbury.
That was an underrated block. The Top Deck.
There's a glass and a half.
In every block.
Well, they used to say in every block, right? I, as a milk aficionado, right?
The man drinks more milk than I've ever met.
Yeah, I should buy a cow. Look, there's...
I could hook you up. The Connolly family farm in the deep south of Ireland. It's a dairy farm.
That's in Ireland.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I was taught how to use a milking machine growing up when we went to visit the family farm. My dad was really disappointed because we went over there and he's like, all right, we're going to a working farm. It's going to be, you're going to learn about hard work, son.
Milking a cow.
And so he got there and he said to my cousin Liam, who runs the farm, he said, all right, what do you do in your day? Yeah. And he goes, well, I go out to the cows and I've got a machine, so I just plug them in and go back to bed for a bit.
Yep.
And what do you do for the rest of the day? Well, I watch telly and then at night I go out, I plug them in again, and that's about it.
The blight of the farmer.
Yeah. Dad was so disappointed. All I learned with being a farmer is sick because you plug cows in, watch telly all day, and get free milk. It's the best job in the world. Yeah.
The Cadbury ad used to be there's a glass and a half in every block, right? Yeah. Now it is there's a glass and a half in every one.
Oh.
Now why is
one could mean anything.
Well, why is it every one? It's because the block used to be 250 grams. Now it's 180.
Shrinkflation.
That
is what's ruining.
That's the actual size of a Cadbury block of chocolate going into the mind of an NRL player. That's all we can do from the bunker now. But look, they're moving slightly adjacent.
Speaking of people with chocolate-addled brains.
Chocolate-addled brains. Phil Gould has lifted the lid. Which basically says he's indifferent joining the New South Wales rugby league coaching squad. Now, if Phil Gould does come in the space of Brandy Alexander, now and he
sensationally retired before he was pushed.
Yes, exactly. He jumped.
Yeah, jumped.
And they've said, look, it's going to be Gus and Freddie, right? But really, Gus has always coached Freddie. Like, he's always been the mentor there. So really,
coaching the coach.
Yeah, is he going to be the right hand man, or is he actually going to be the right hand man, the left hand man, the torso, the legs, and the head? Is he going to be the complete man?
Is he going to be operating Fred Fittler as a puppet? He's going to jam his hand up his ass, get in the press conferences. Hey, I picked Jared Hayne out of Silverwater for a reason. I don't know. I actually kind of like it. No one in New South Wales gets Origin more than Phil.
I thought you were going to say gets puppetry, but
huge fan of puppetry. Yeah. Who was that fella who used to have the Taliban skeleton puppet?
Oh, who was that guy? It wasn't the Teddy man. Was it?
No. It was Osama bin Laden. Thank you very much, Sam. Very good input over there. Osama bin Laden.
There was the famous ventriloquist that had Teddy, but that's David Strassman, but he didn't have the terrorist.
No,
it was it was an American fella.
Wasn't it an intriguing time in Australian history where you could go to an RSL club on any given Thursday and there's just a fella up there making dick jokes with a puppet on his hand.
With a ventriloquist, yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
That was when entertainment was at its peak.
Liam, speaking about our very own Newcastle Knights.
Just quickly, love Phil Gould coming back into the Blues setup. He's the only New South Wales man who gets Origin more than we do, and we get Origin very much. So love it. I think it's fantastic. Well done, New South Wales Origin Blues. Now on. I had to say a bit.
No, please, say bits. All the bits and bobs. The Newcastle Knights, there's the mole out there. Of course, the mole is someone that is pretending to be a journalist out there saying all different things.
Yeah, she broke up with me years ago.
He's come out and said, look, Jaden Brayley's been shopped around. Now, if we remember, Jaden Brayley, captain of our very fair men's side, has really not managed to string too many seasons together.
He's been a bit of a floppy boy. You know, we accuse Caleb Ponga of being a floppy boy. Is Jaden Brayley the floppiest? Or is it the opposite?
I think
he's too rigid.
Yeah.
And so when anything happens, his bones shatter.
Yeah.
Not enough milk.
The Dragons are after him. We got a shot here of Jaden Brayley. See, look at that. Look at that neck. Look at that jawline.
That's a powerful neck.
Rigid.
He's a very handsome man, Jaden Brayley.
Classically handsome.
Beautiful eyes. I never realized how hot Jaden Brayley is.
Yeah, incredibly attractive man.
Well, we can't let him go now.
But of course, we got Mr. Fake Teeth over there and Shane Flanagan there, who spent his entire 2016.
He's got teeth like PK gum.
Yeah,
little chiclets.
Does look like PK gum.
Or Juicy Fruits. I much prefer Juicy Fruits to PK.
PK's too strong in the mix.
Yeah. That's it. It tastes like the gum you'd have if you want to cover your breath. Juicy Fruits just tastes like
cover up a crime. Yeah. That's how strong it is.
Juicy Fruits just tastes like the gum you wanted if you were eternally a child.
Yeah, well, I bought a pack the other day. It's wonderful. You know, if you go to like some sort of the servos have these crazy like
the deals.
Yeah, well, no,
the clearance bin.
No, like the American candy kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
you can get there and get the Juicy Fruit like sticks.
Love the Juicy Fruit sticks.
Much better than
so
tablets. Yeah.
Looking around the world, different cultures have different
mediums
styles of bubble gum. You know, in Australia, it comes in the chiclets. In North America, it comes in the strips.
The chiclets being the pieces.
The pieces. Then, of course, you've got the great... it used to be a Hubba Bubba one. It came in small little cubes, and you put a bunch of cubes in. Then you got Hubba Bubba. It's a big rectangle block.
Yeah. Oh, and the tape, of course.
Bubble tape.
The bubble tape.
I love bubble tape.
Covered in a flour.
What a versatile candy bubble gum is.
Oh, yeah.
It's very good stuff.
Reason for all of my fillings. Now, but
still never got a filling, Joust.
Yes. You haven't been to the dentist to check.
No, I did, because remember I told you. I went there and they said, Liam, you need a filling. I went back 2 months later and said, no, you don't need a filling.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Why bother? We've got perfect teeth.
I knocked over the other bottle. There's you're still with us, Jousters. We've got... Would you
let Jaden Brayley go if you were Philip Gardner?
This is a question. Is he like... For years and years and years, everyone said Kalen Ponga is on too much money and doesn't do enough. Right? Doesn't do enough. But really, Jaden Brayley has also been on a lot of money. Not as much as Kalen.
Do we know how much he's on?
It's been $750-ish, I think. Yeah, he's up there.
It's a hefty price tag for a man who's played half of one game.
But besides last year, every other year, the 2020 season, the 2021 season, last year was all right, and then this year again, catastrophic injuries.
It's such a sad story.
He
had such promise. He was being talked about as an Origin hooker.
Yeah.
He could lifetime captain of the club.
He could do it if he could stay on the field. That's the problem. We haven't been able to keep him to stay him on the field, but he's 27 years old. And another club...
Much older than he seems.
The Dragons are interested in him, right? And it's a bit like crypto. You got to sell when it's high, and then... or more
I don't understand crypto. All right.
Yeah.
So in a traditional... So traditionally, when you are earning currency, there is an exchange of labor or of capital.
Shit, I'm going over. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
So when you get money, you either go, "Here's a thing, may I have money for it," or you say, "Here, I did work, may I have money for it."
Yeah.
In crypto, it just needs to be, where is money? There's money,
Yeah.
but it comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
What is generating the value of the money? Where is the exchange of goods? Where is the exchange of labor?
Yeah.
What derives the value that gets the money from? People are, it's microtransactions.
Are you asking me this question?
No, I'm just ranting into the abyss because I don't get it.
And also,
I've had it explained to me by so many crypto experts, and it makes no sense. It's money coming from nowhere. Pom, can we discuss this after the show? I've got like 2 hours to spare. I don't get it.
Well, this is the...
Can we pay Jaden Brayley in crypto?
Sure, in cryptocurrency, but then he'll ask for actual dollars because crypto's made up. Sorry, Pom.
It is funny.
But I agree. Jaden Brayley, right, has not managed to put a good, solid season together. 1 out of the 4. So he has
no fault of his own, of course.
No, he's just been injured. But at the same time, if we hang on to him to the end of his contract, he's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah.
So is this the time to sell? Now,
especially when we have the best hooker in the NRL lined up behind him anyway.
Phoenix Crossland. Now, a lot of people will say, when you point out, the Knights have a bit of salary cap pressure, they'll say, well, of course, it's Caelan Ponga.
Which is funny. As soon as the Knights lose 2 or 3 games, the Daily Telegraph jumps straight onto, salary cap pressure.
They hate us.
The Knights. Then we win 10 in a row. Boy, not much salary cap pressure anymore, Daily Telegraph.
Well, the problem is...
Murdoch shills. He's retired now. You can stop sucking his ass.
The problem is, Liam. The thing is, you've got a player like Jaden Brayley, who's not to the end of his contract, but he is not even the problem with the salary cap pressure. It's the Simi Sasagi's, the Brody Joneses, the Jack Johnses that we
supporting cast.
The supporting cast that we decided to pay first grade contracts for that really didn't play enough first grade to warrant them. Caelan Ponga, if he was like, I'm leaving you guys, see you later. I've decided to break my contract. I'm going to go to the Canberra Raiders. Guess what? The Canberra Raiders are going to pay him $1.4 million to go play there.
I think this season has shown that he's not overpaid. If what he's delivered this season, and we'll come back to this later on, Jess, but he's not overpaid. I don't care what anyone says.
If someone's value's on the trajectory down and you're still hanging on to them, that is when you've got a problem. Now, they've started this clean out happening. Jaden Brayley represents the player that we don't want to lose, but we probably should. And
it hurts to say, doesn't it?
It does hurt to say. Does hurt to say.
Because from all accounts, off the field, even while he's been injured, he's been a fantastic leader.
Phoenix Crossland,
phenomenal mentor. Yeah.
Right now would be fielding contract offers to play starting hooker at other clubs.
And Phoenix had an article out the other day where he praised Jaden Brayley endlessly for how much of a mentor and a leader he's been to Phoenix. And, again, we see best hooker in the competition.
We can't hold on to every player, especially if they're on the sideline. If Jaden Brayley has one more catastrophic injury, that's it for Jaden. He's worth nothing, and we're still paying him $700,000+ a year. Another player, Liam, that is also in the same boat when we're talking about salary cap issues with the Newcastle Knights is that Daniel Saifidi could be looking at an $880K, which I think might be slightly inflated, but it's something around that mark in 2024. And they're saying...
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And that money could buy you a 1-bedroom flat in Windale these days.
Yeah. And the Dogs appear to be after him for that amount of money. They said we're willing to pay. The Dogs,
Well, they've just let Luke Thompson go, of course. Another prop on large money.
As well as Tavita Pangai Jr. So they're looking for
a prop on large money.
They're looking for a spearhead prop. And we might say, no, Daniel is ours. We can't remove him. He's a twin. Of course, of that famous film, The Parent Trap, which was twins split up, and it caused an entire film worth of drama. The Saifidi Trap.
A complete 1 hour and half of 1 hour worth of drama. Oh.
Has anyone thought about Lindsay Lohan's twin? There's never heard of again.
Where were we? Dan Safidi. We've gone cross-eyed. Yeah.
Dan Safidi, another player that is on a lot of money this season. And look, ended up finishing basically on the bench. I say basically, literally on the bench for the last 5 or 6 rounds with his brother Daniel, who's coming off contract.
No, Daniel's the one we're talking about. His brother Jacob.
They're twins.
See, this is the problem we're having with the low hand conundrum.
The low hand, the parent trap.
It worked. They trapped us.
With Jacob coming off contract at the end of this year, I believe in November, he can negotiate with other clubs. Now, we need to pay him a lot more money. Where are we going to get that money?
Now, Naggy, I have a theory. Maybe the Daily Telegraph don't know that there's 2 Safidis. And they just think there's one Safidi on 880,000. Turns out there's two
of them,
each on 440,000.
Well, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
But we can't really, we must go forwards or backwards, not forwards. Twirling, always twirling. But Daniel's on a lot of money. Jacob's on not much money. Jacob's in better form than Daniel. Do we want to keep Daniel for the sake of losing Jacob?
Look, I think you got to throw the kitchen sink at both of them.
Yeah.
It is a lot of money to spend on a prop, but at the same time, he's been such an integral part of the club. He is a club junior, yes. He's proven that at his best. He's a representative level player and plays well at the rep level.
He did.
Keep him.
Did.
Yeah, keep him.
He did play well at the rep level, but now Jacob plays good at the rep level.
Well, they both do.
Well, yes.
Conundrums. Conundra. Is that the
plural for
conundrums? Conundra. I don't know.
Quite possibly. For the first time in 22 episodes, Liam, I disagree with you.
I like this. Anyway, but I think that speaks to the larger conversation to have about the ins and outs of the Newcastle Knights for 2024 season. We've got the list up here in front of you, Jousters, and it's not an overly extensive list of gains, losses, re-signings, and off contracts, but I think there's a few key ones in there. We'll go through the gains really quickly, Naggy.
Jed
Cartwright, South Sydney Rabbitohs, very handy depth back rower, of course. Jack Cogger, our very own principal of the school for Unremarkable Boys, coming back. He'll, maybe play in that number 6 role outside Jackson Hastings, perhaps, or maybe Will Price coming from the Huddersfield Giants.
Yes,
maybe we'll fill that number 6 role, and then of course we have the English Sonny Bill Williams coming along in Kai Pearce-Paul. So it's not a huge amount of gains. But I like it. I like what I see. I think they're good signings for both depth and potential starters.
Now, looking at the losses, Liam, we've got Lockie Fitzgibbon, who's had, even though he had a really good season this year, a lot of trouble with that shoulder that he's already had reconstructed
and a
twice.
Series of not so good seasons.
And he also struggled to stay on the field, and again he struggled to stay on the field. Lockie Miller, another one going off the Leeds Rise. Simi Sasagi.
My dear friend Lockie Miller, former, Sawtell Panthers legend, much like myself. Lockie, shine on, you crazy goddamn diamond over in England. Shine on.
Yeah. And we got a Lockie Miller, of course, and Dominic Young, which is the big loss really for the season after Sim Sasagi.
I've got a lot to say about Dominic Young leaving, and we'll save that for a bit later in the pod. Yeah. Simi Sasagi was always rated as a pretty handy junior coming through.
Now, Liam,
looked like he was going to be a good depth player. But
off the off-contract ones in 2023 there, I'll give you one to keep and the rest to put in the bin. Who are you keeping out of there?
Of the off contract? That's a great question.
Probably notable ones, either Brodie Jones or Fanu Brown.
I was thinking Farmanu Brown. With Cogger coming back, I don't think you need Clune really. Bailey Hodgson has
Clune's gone, yeah.
Yeah, off contract. You said which one's
sorry, but he has actually been a loss now.
He has. Sorry. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Bailey Hodgson really has proven to be racked with injuries and never really got a chance. The rest of them I don't particularly see as being integral. So I think, my two would be New Brown or the other one that you mentioned.
Brodie Jones.
Yeah.
The draft.
But the re-signings are the ones that excite me. Tyson Frizzell till 2026. He's back to career best form. Dylan Lucas. Yeah. He's, very much in contention for that left second row position. Greg Margier, best trade deal in the history of trade deals. And Anari Tuala this year proved that he is a very handy depth signing.
I think so too.
I like the re-signings.
We'll be right back for the third half of the Joust. We're going to third halves of
you guys thought you knew mathematics.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
We're not leaving. We're
John Nashing it, inventing new mathematical concepts.
We'll see you soon. Welcome back to the third half of the Joust. That's right.
Groundbreaking podcast.
An additional third half. Take that, Alan Turing. But it's very important.
Can't we slander Alan Turing a lot on this podcast?
Well, we don't like maths, you see. But it's very important because we have to squeeze in the very own Joust Awards known as the Jousties.
Welcome to the Jousties, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the same.
That was meant to be the Oscars music. Apologies, Jousties.
Do the Oscars have set music?
Yeah, they have beautiful orchestral score.
When they want the person to hurry up and finish talking.
Yeah.
We could definitely use
Play them
that.
off. Yeah. Play us off, Jousters.
Play us off. The Jousties, the first award goes to the Ben Kennedy Award for our very own Newcastle Knight. Signing of the season. Liam, who's that?
Oh, it's got to be Greg the Bus. Now, look, when we entered this trade deal with the Gold Coast Titans at the start of the year, we traded our very own Chris Randall for their very own Greg Majeur. And I remember at the time, a lot of Titans fans, we hadn't heard much about Greg Majeur, but a lot of Titans fans were somewhat upset that he was leaving. And so I knew at that point, Naggy, that we were maybe going to get something, half decent. I think what we got was more than half decent. It was all the luxury of, a Sid Fogg's taking you way up the coast. And
remembering early on the season, he wasn't even selected.
He was in reserve grade.
He was in reserve grade. They said he's missing the bus. Very good with the thing there. 22 games this season.
And in that games of 22, he scored tries of 22.
22.
Led the NRL in tackle breaks with 177.
Line breaks, 27 line breaks.
Which is a lot, again, in a 22-game stretch. And, the last couple of years, one of the things that Penrith have become so dominant on the back of is the work of their back five out of yardage, ladies and gentlemen. Yardage. That word they all refer to, yardage.
Yeah.
And between him and Dom Young, their work out of the Knights' red zone really set the platform for what became the best attack, let's face it, in rugby league history with the Newcastle Knights attack. And so I think the signing of the year award and maybe the best trade deal in the history of trade deals ever is the Greg the Bus Majeur signing from the Gold Coast Titans.
Ben Kennedy Award, of course, with the best signing of the Newcastle Knights history. Yeah. Ben Kennedy from the Canberra Raiders. Next award, of course, goes to...
Now, this one's an interesting one, Jousters. This is the Jimmy Carter Award for building homes for the less fortunate. Goes to Bradman Best, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we all remember, of course, after the shellacking by Parramatta, the shills in the Murdoch media accused the entire Newcastle Knights team, coaching staff, and ownership of going to Bali and getting on the bintangs and doing bugger all.
But it wasn't the whole team. No, it was just Bradman Best there with a hammer and a chisel and building basically a whole new suburb of Kuta.
Yep, he got under Jimmy Carter and he said, Jimmy, you're doing pretty well with Houses for Humanity, mate. Can I do it in a beautiful Southeast Asian country? Yeah. And Jimmy said yes. So well done to Bradman Best for taking out the inaugural Jimmy Carter Award for Third World Infrastructure Building. Next award, ladies and gentlemen, is
the best loss.
It's a bit of a conceptual award. It's the Emu War Award for the best loss. Now, Naggy, some jousters would not know. Some jousters with less of a grasp on military history than we have would not have heard of the Emu War.
Of course.
Would you tell our dear friends out there in the listening public just what the Emu War was and why that is named after our great best loss?
Of course. Well, of course, there has been a history of Australia where there's been great sort of agriculture and farmers going through it, but they said that we've got a problem. Hey, government, we've got a problem out here. There's far too many big birds. Those big birds being emus, right? They run rampant. They're going everywhere and they're destroying. And we need something done about this right now. Now, the Australian government at the time, this was very early. 20s.
I believe it was the early 30s.
Yeah,
1932, 33. Perhaps.
Early 20th century. They said, hey, I've got a solution, and that's the army.
And they slapped a bunch of Vickers machine guns on the back of a couple of Jeeps and said, go out, boys, and have your way with the emus.
Now, how did that work out for the army?
They didn't get a single one.
Not a single one, because emus are notoriously very fast.
They're very fast. They're very evasive. And so the Emu War was a war that we shouldn't have lost, but we did. Naggy, there was a couple of games where we shouldn't have lost, but we did.
And the biggest one happened to be the Newcastle Knights versus the Brisbane Broncos back there in round 15. Now, this was a time that we really thought we could stamp our own on one of the top flyers of the competition, where we were down the bottom and we're down to the middle bottom, which is worse than the bottom because, you've got hope. And and we led
and we all know, Jousters, that we hate hope on this show. We really don't like it. We wish it didn't exist.
We set a lead. We held a lead.
Just give us despondency every day of the week and we'd be in our element.
We set a lead. We held a lead until the very, very end where Adam Reynolds scored a try off Ezra, man. And it was disappointing to see in front of huge crowd there at Suncorp
Yeah,
Stadium.
the wife and I were watching this game at home, and we're pretty lucky that the cops weren't called, because the sounds that were coming out of our mouth and the volume they were coming out at was just wild. It was enormous. It was such a wonderful performance from the Knights. I think it was maybe the first great performance of the year that we saw. Would you agree it was the first great performance?
Without getting the win, much like the Emus.
Yeah, much like the Emus. Except the Australian Army performed very poorly. But again, shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, we shouldn't have lost. We shouldn't have lost it.
The Vickers machine gun has a very high rate of fire. You should be able to hit at least one. So the Army shouldn't have lost that, and we shouldn't have lost this. But you've got a suggestion as well for a game that we shouldn't have lost.
I'll take your mind back to the round 7 game against the Panthers, where again we managed to not only match them but also score more tries than them, 3 tries to 2. But we just lucked out a little bit with conversions.
Yeah, that'll come back in our hats back on for the season.
And Nathan Gillery with 2 penalty goals, one very early there, and then Tyson Gamble kicks a 76-minute field goal.
Now there was a bit of trickery involved in that one as well, of course. You'll remember, Jousters, that for all intents and purposes, it looked like Jackson Hastings was going to take the field goal. He was set. He was ready. He was in the pocket. He received the ball in his hands from the hooker.
Yeah.
Fed it on to Tyson, and Tyson belted it from about 40 metres.
It was wonderful to see. It was a wonderful field goal, only to be bested by Nathan Clear in the 77th minute, and then again almost immediately in extra time in the 80th.
It was the first set. So I remember Penrith received the kickoff, basically had the perfect set. They went about 70 metres, I think, and then Cleary nailed the field goal from not very far out.
Something like that.
You would not see a better rugby league set. So it was really very underwhelming, because it was like, we're going into Golden Point. This is going to be great. They didn't even put it as 81 minutes. It happened that quickly. It was still the 80th minute.
You'll notice they're very 2 close losses against the 2 teams that are now in the grand final. So that's
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, something to put that in the back of your mind when we start to think maybe we could have done it.
Yeah. But you know what's better than best losses?
Could be the Andrew Johns' best win of the season.
Even a bad win's better than a good loss. So I've really just blown my own argument out of the water there.
Who's your best win of the season?
Now, this one was one that me and my dad were at. This, before the Canberra game, of course, this was the best game I've ever seen at Marathon Stadium. It was the Newcastle Knights defeating the Melbourne Storm 26-18.
Now, we're coming off 2 wins. Coming off the Dogs' big win, the Tigers' big win, but we're coming up against a real heavy hitter. In the
and a team who had slandered us with Christian Welch's disrespectful comments after the loss against Penrith. Christian Welch slandered the club.
I still think it was
libel out there.
I think it was slightly affection. I think how did they lose?
I can't be mad at Christian Welch. He's such a good guy. But anyway, they said, Christian, look, buddy, you've angered us. And what did we say?
We unleashed the
giant.
Giants.
Don't anger Tyson Gamble. And so what we saw was actually a fairly Storm-like performance against the Storm. There was a lot of defensive grit. I remember we were, sitting with 20,392 clenched buttholes there in the stadium.
Yeah.
The Knights' goal line defense was like none I've ever seen from the club.
10 points down within the first 10 minutes as well.
Well, that was
it.
Or
12 points down.
So Meaney scored in the 2nd minute, Trent Liero in the 7th. But when Nick Meaney scored in the 2nd minute, there was again 20,000 people all just looked at each other and said, here we go again. We're all used to it, and we resigned ourselves to our fate with 78 minutes to go. But what happened was nothing short of remarkable.
Bradman Best in the 32nd, Greg Marjorie 35th, Lachlan Fitzgibbon the 38th. We're not finished, they said. We're not finished. And Matt Croker goes over for a spectacular try, the 44th.
That was the flip try, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And
beautiful.
Then managing to hold off till the end of the 80 minutes in front, which guarantees 2 competition points.
Which, again, the Knights weren't aware of in the past.
Which I
got to hold out for 80 minutes.
I like to just throw out a quick best win for myself. Was round 2. I'll cast your minds back to round 2, where it was the Knights versus the Tigers. We just lost against the Warriors over there in New Zealand.
Did we beat the Warriors first and then lost the second?
No. We lost first.
They beat, we won second.
And we had every opportunity to lose this game, Liam, because we got off early. Dom Young and Lachlan Fitzgibbon scoring in the 10 and 15 minutes respectively, and then we lost Dom Young in the 29th minute to a sin bin.
What was he sin bin for?
But you also remember
silly,
in the first minute we lost Kalen Ponga, and we thought, oh dear, here it goes again. He was
a very own Floppy Boy has been flopped to death.
Flopped to death. And we thought, and there's a lot of questions about, will he, is this the season for him? Can he come back? It rung true of like an Andrew Johns round 3, 2004 match where he did his knee and thought, oh, can the Knights come back and do anything this season now without their fearless leader? But we managed to do it, Liam, with compounding the Jacob Saifidi sin bin in the 64th minute. And we had to play, so collectively between Dom Young and Jacob Saifidi.
It wasn't a sin bin, it was a
send-off.
Send-off. He point to the sideline.
Well, he
tried there.
He did try to decapitate a man.
Well, he didn't try, he succeeded.
Yeah, take his head clean off.
His head clean off.
He took the skull of a man, walked it to the sheds and said, whoops.
And then did the Hamlet speech with it. To be or not to be, that is the question.
Yeah.
Whether it is nobler to have loved than lost than
he
to
said
have done a bunch of other dumb shit.
All the stuff. He said it all. But we were left there in the last 16 minutes, but also after already defending very hard without Dominic Young for basically the end of the first half. And we managed to get together and say, no, we shall not lose this game to the West Tigers.
Galvanised, perhaps.
Yeah. And we said, no, this is it. We're going to set our foot in the ground, our leg in the sand. The river of the leg will run straight into the sand. We said, we're not moving. We're not moving at all. And we managed to edge out a win. It was wonderful.
What a great couple of wins. Next award we have is the Tim the Toolman Taylor Most Improved Player of the Season. And I think, the redemption arc of Tim Allen's really nice. He got done for cocaine distribution.
They say, sir, is that cocaine? He goes, yeah. In the airport.
And then immediately ratted out all of his dear friends.
Yeah.
So the most improved player of the season. Now, look, at the start of the year, if you were to say the name Phoenix Crossland in a room of people who like rugby league, they would have laughed in your face. All you had to do was say his name, and they would have laughed at you, punched you in the groin, and then said, go out. Leave the room.
You know nothing about rugby league.
Nothing about rugby league.
Yeah.
All that just by saying his name.
Yeah.
But what Phoenix Crossland has showed this year has been nothing short of remarkable.
Yeah.
His play in the hooking position, which is not a position he grew up playing. He was always a half. He was a bit of a star half.
Yeah.
And for him to transition into the hooker role with such aplomb, floating in a man's hat in perfume.
It felt like
amazing.
It felt like he was a Pokemon, right? that you had I had Phoenix Crossland. You're like, oh, I want Phoenix Crossland as well, and I do the trade, but then
you pull the cord out.
Pull the cord out, turn the Game Boy off, and then you get all the XP points.
Yeah,
and we got all the XP points with Phoenix Crossland, all the extra points. It was the trade. It was to encourage trading in the Game Boy thing. That if I traded to you. No, but if I traded to you, then you got extra points by just training him up. But we got that with Phoenix Crossland after our very own Jaden Brayley.
He went the way of Lance Murdoch.
He just
broke everything.
Every bone in his body.
The most amazing thing about Phoenix Crossland's season was something that, quite unfortunately...
The wrong kid died, of course. We had the chance to get the other Brayley, Blake Brayley.
The wrong kid died.
But
Al Brayley died, and the other one went on to become a prospective Origin player. But yeah, look, the thing about Phoenix this season is, and it's sad that most other fans, not of the Newcastle Knights, won't see this, but when you watch him off the telecast, the work he does outside of the traditional viewing scope of the cameras is really amazing. He hurls himself in front of people in defence.
Yes.
He leads the line speed. He's an absolute
Danny Badira's
psychopath.
style in defence.
Very Badira's,
Yeah.
So to Phoenix Crossland, big hats off.
Big hats off this year. Now, of course, we have a graduate of the School of Unremarkable Boys.
And it's a prestigious school.
Look at it there.
Very prestigious school.
Look at that, brick front. And of course, it is our very own Tyson Gamble, a player that we weren't expecting anything from, but it turned out to be quite the hero.
He graduated with honours. He came to the Knights as somewhat, I think jokingly, as a bit of a mediocre player who happened to have
a bit player,
an enormous bag of chips on each shoulder, a bit part player.
Handful of teeth in his mouth.
There's two that are kind of jammed into one spot.
Yes.
But, he proved that he is absolutely an NRL quality starting half.
He does, yeah.
And I think the most amazing thing was that he restrained those bags of chips on his shoulder towards the end of the year. And instead of getting into the tussles and throwing the ball and yelling a lot, he just said, no, if people anger me, I'm going to be good at football against them.
I'm going to beat them on the field rather than beat them to a pulp.
I would like if he had done both.
Yes, I would say.
That would have been sick.
I would have liked to see it.
And of course, he also had his minor in thuggery, which developed from that.
Of course, the major in Unremarkable Boys, minor in thuggery.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the midst, also in rugby league. Do we have any more awards? I've forgotten if we go any further.
We do.
Of course, we have the Will Smith Award for the Slap of the Year. There's two nominations.
Two nominations.
The first nomination for the Slap of the Year goes to Jack Hetherington. The second goes for Jack Hetherington. And the winner is Jack Hetherington.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Miss. Now, we named him the Red Miss pretty early in the year, I think. I believe it was Sam on the buttons over there.
Yes, the Red
declared
Miss.
him to be the Red Mist, and boy, didn't he deliver on that promise.
Well, if you include slaps, yes, he was certainly very slappy. He was very slap happy, you would say,
Slap-happy.
and
A real old-fashioned slapper.
not someone that had learned much from his. Firstly, the 39th sin bin against the Penrith Panthers in the game, which was I think it was about round 16. But then he did it again.
Tigers.
He did it again against.
He's from Belmont. Belmont.
He's actually slapping Will
of course,
Smith.
that was the Chris Rock's revenge.
Yeah, the Chris Rock's
the
revenge.
Chris Rock revenge game.
Yeah, Chris Rock got slapped and he slapped Will Smith back. Well done, Jack Hetherington, for that.
But people from Belmont, they don't learn from their mistakes.
No, not if you're that size. You don't have to. You don't have to apologise. You can just continue beating people to within an inch of their life. And of course, the Comeback of the Year award, Liam, that goes to a special player within your heart.
Dane Gagai.
Dane
Gagai's always been a very good player. He's always played very well at representative level, but has often been derided for maybe not being quite so good at club level. Last year, he didn't have a particularly good year. But just like John Travolta, making a remarkable comeback in Pulp Fiction,
Yes.
Dane Gagai has truly made his mark as a comeback kid.
And if we look at 4 tries there, you think that might not be
very
very much.
few.
13 try assists, 12 line breaks, and 148 tackle breaks.
And also finished the year, I think, second in tackle breaks.
only to
For the whole competition, only to Greg Mauger.
Monsieur,
Yeah, so great year from Dane Gagai. But like you said, his season was not reflected in the numbers. His season was reflected in watching all the games, watching the effort, watching him put in, be a leader, watching the way he sparked the attack. Maybe he didn't finish the attack. Maybe he didn't throw the final pass.
Why would you when you've got Dom Young outside of you?
Exactly. So I think to see Dane Gagai, as a comeback player of the year, especially given that when he came back to Newcastle, he said, look, I owe the city and I owe the fans, because he was here in the bad years.
Yes.
He played some not so good footy in the bad years.
Absolutely.
And so to see him come back and say, I owe this to the club, I owe this to the fans, I owe this to the town, and for him to then do that, pretty sick, all right?
Welcome back, Dane. Welcome back, Cotter. So one of our second last award this year goes to the try of the season. Of course, it's hard to rule out the try of the season without looking at our very own Dom Young.
Oh, the Dom o'clock try.
The Dom o'clock, 4 p.m.
It wasn't a particularly amazing attacking try. It didn't come like much of the Knights' tries, attacking from our other side of halfway. It just came from the greatest put down maybe that you'll ever see.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You won't not see another man's leg square in the air and managing him, his head looking up to his foot, and then him also putting his hand at 4 o'clock down on the try line with the ball in it. It was clearly remarkable. But if we move on, also,
and I would have compared it to a pie I've had through the year, but there's no pie that's as good as that try. Next award, Jousters, to continue going on. We've got the Kalen Ponga Award for the outstanding player,
and of course that goes to our very own Kalen Ponga.
Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, he only played half of the season.
Yeah.
But what a half of a season he played. Even in the early losses, especially the Broncos one, we just discussed the Emu War, of course, up there at Suncorp Stadium. He played the most remarkable footy you've ever seen. And I think, again, it's a testament to Adam O'Brien's coaching. He takes his well-established, well-known 5'8", who's been in the position for years, and puts him into fullback, a position he's never played.
The reverse Lockyer.
The reverse Lockyer, of course, the famed reverse Lockyer. Yeah. And to have the impact that he had and to play the football he had as a 5'8", transitioning to fullback.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
9 tries, 21 try assists, a bunch of tackle breaks. He has done it all. 19 line breaks, all within one half of one season. Incredible.
We thought he died.
Yeah, we thought he was never going to come back and play football again. And
they sent him to Canada and he hit the Hong Kongs, came back all good.
I think that might be the end of the awards.
No. Hats back on for the season. We've got one hats back on for the season. And this one, I think, we would have won at least 3 to 4 games more if Mark Tukey had done his damn job and taught the boys how to kick. We had Jackson Hastings, Lockie Miller, Kalen Ponga, Dane Gagai, all attempting to convert.
Yeah.
And more often than Tyson Gamble.
No success.
All attempting to convert, and more often than not, failing miserably.
Yes.
Unless they kicked it 100%.
That's right.
It was either 69, 70%, or 100%.
100%, yeah.
Nary was there and in between. But this last award, Jousters, now, as you guys would know, as I've mentioned in the show in the past, I'm a petty bitch.
Yes.
I love telling people I told you so. I don't understand why people say I hate to say I told you so.
Yes.
It's one of life's great pleasures.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I must eat humble pie when people tell me that they told me so. And there's two that I'd like to give this award to. The first one is Adam O'Brien. Now, when we were going through the hard times earlier in the year, the tough times, we still had the brownie stranglehold on our brain.
Trauma.
It's generational trauma.
Yes.
And, we said maybe it's time to get rid of AOB because he'll jump before we push him. And I think, again, with the, revolutionary reverse Lockyer, with the revolutionising of the Knights attack, I think Adam O'Brien really did tell us that. He told us so. This was what he'd been building to for 4 years in his quiet, silent rebuild, and it's finally starting to pay dividends. So, Adam O'Brien, you told me so, and boy, am I glad you did.
But likewise, I like Liam. There's a certain player that you said I would never mention his name again after he's announced that he's going to be signed with the Newcastle Roosters, the Sydney Roosters, and you said I want nothing to do with him. I don't want him to play first grade anymore. You even called him.
Send him to the Scone Thoroughbreds.
You said Dum Yong for a while.
That was
there.
Tom Young.
Tom Young.
Tom Young. Yeah. But it was something that our wonderful button man Sam said to me early in the year after he'd signed. He said, "Look, Liam, open up your heart and let Dom Young into your heart." And I'm so glad. Again, I'm so glad that I ate my own humble pie and that I did let him into my heart.
Absolutely.
27 tries across the season. 25 tries across the season.
For 3-ish, I think.
To be the top try scorer in the NRL.
Yeah.
Not only that, played amazing football outside of his phenomenal try scoring prowess. Again, yardage, that stuff we're talking about. He was just incredible.
Athlete, yeah.
And so, Dom, I wish you well on your way to the Roosters. I didn't think I'd be saying that, and it makes me very, very physically ill to say that. But I wish you all the success in the world, and I'm really glad that I did open my heart to you. And I will forever look back upon Dom Young's very, very brief time at the Newcastle Knights very fondly. And I think all Knights will as well. All Knights fans, rather, will as well.
I think so too. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode, Liam. And thank you all for staying with us for another episode. If you could like us, please like us on all those social pipes. You know them by now.
We don't give a shit if you don't, because we're done.
We're done for another season. We hope to be back next season, but maybe we will not be. So if we are not, we tip a hat to you. Thank you very much for joining us for yet another year. We love doing this, and we love the fact that you might slightly enjoy it at part of your break of your workday also. But from all here at the Joust, all 5 of us, we thank you very much for another season, and we hope to see you once again. If not, go you mighty Knights.